YouTube. I am back. We're going to wait for a few more people to hop on the live today. If you're new here, my name is Dr. Robin. I am your sleep health coach and clinical pharmacist. I'm here to help you to get the most amazing sleep, no matter what's going on in our lives. Life has been lifing for all of us lately. I think so much is going on. The last 2 weeks, we had a really like a giant mesh of, interesting holidays. We had like Valentine's Day, we had the Chinese New Year coming in, we had the beginning of Ramadan, we had Lent, we had Mardi Gras. Um, we had an eclipse. I believe that was a solar eclipse. We have a lunar one coming up in a few days. So the energy is very dense and thick. For back of a letter, for back of a letter word, the energy right now is very, it's rough. It's rough energy right now. And so I wanted to take a time to really go into some information this morning while we're waiting for a few more people to hop on, see if a couple of people starting to hop on. Be sure to like the video so we can send this out. We woke up here in the US, and maybe some of you all went to bed with the news, different parts of the world, that, there's new war going on. Last week, we woke up to, things going on in Mexico. We really weren't quite sure what that was all about, things going on with that. And now, things have shifted Middle East wise. And I can't say it's a big surprise. I think, we've seen the writing on the wall. Things are, definitely on the horizon. And things that are really stilling our sleep. So I want to really go into, and be sure if you have any questions on some different things. And we're going to go a review of some like the general sleep hygiene things we could be doing during this time, but also what we can be doing really for our mind, body, and our spirit during this time. Doing things that are in our control. There's so many things that are out of our control, that it's going to be, definitely a time that's going to be testing us to see, what we can do that's in our control right now as we are going through all of this. So I see some people starting to hop on right now. Thank you. I know it's early Saturday morning. How to sleep. We woke up to news of war this morning. I was not expecting that. I actually woke up to news. If you're here in the US and Mexico, you woke up to news of war last week as well. So one of the first things I want to encourage everyone to do is basically control what you can control. So I know that, so many things are just out of our control as everyday people. We're not making the decisions, the policies. We're not doing any of that. So what we can do is doing our best to control what we can. So making sure that we are in communication with our family during this time, our friends during this time. This is a very delicate time right now. Energy is off the charts right now. I think we have some like 6, 7 planet alignment today alone. We have an eclipse coming up in a few days, March 3rd. Just energy is just really off the charts right now. So we really need to take the time to control what we can control. We want to make sure, last week people found out, they woke up to the fact that they were on a lockdown if they were in the country of Mexico in certain areas, not all of the areas, but certain areas. So making sure that you have enough food on hand if something were to happen. Having enough water on hand if something were to happen. We already talked about being in communication with your close family and friends is super important during this time, and having a plan in place. This will help you to sleep better at night knowing, okay, I know I have food in place, we have some water in place, we have shelter, we can shelter in place. And I don't want this to be a fear-mongering live today. I really just wanted to go in and hopefully give some help to everyone, myself included. I was not expecting to wake up to that type of news today. I wasn't totally surprised, not 100% surprised. It's been looming, and we've got warnings that war's on the horizon. And thank you for the likes. I see the likes coming in. Be sure to like this video. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe as well and set that notifications. We're going to be going live more often. I think I took some time off in February. It was definitely a month. Oh, I see some people coming in. Thank you, thank you. Someone said, "Do I have a favorite color?" I do have. I have a few favorite colors. I like kind of like orange and different shades of the orange colors. Hi, I see people popping on the live. Welcome, welcome. We're talking today how to sleep when the world is at war. We woke up this morning to news of major war that started literally this morning while we were asleep. Here in the US, we heard about this. Last week in the US, we woke up to more war that was going on the south of the border to us. It is coming of a time, and I just wanted to take a time for, really just to lend help. This is definitely an area that I want to help people to get that relaxation in, because as our bodies and our nervous systems, we are at war right now too. It's not just the other countries or over there or over there. We are being attacked and bombarded with our definitely attacked and bombarded negatively, emotionally during this time. Even if you're in a safe place, you have food, you have family, hearing of the destruction, we are all a conscious collective. So hearing that things are going, really negatively bad, destruction in other parts of the planet, we all can feel that. I see some people hopping on the lives. Hi, and welcome to the live. Sotro, Mirahal. I hope I'm saying everyone's names right. Be sure to put any questions you have down here, so that we can definitely address those today. So one of the first things we talked about is controlling what you can control. You can control being in communication, even if it's texting communication, checking on people, communication with your family, friends, making sure that people are, doing adequately during this time. That you have, your supply of food and water. We don't know if we'll have an incident where we'll be called to shelter in place again. We don't know that. I know that was phenomenal when it happened. What's this, 6 years ago? I can't believe that was 6 years ago. Since we don't know if that will happen again, we want to have our basics in place. If you take certain medications, supplements. I know I have certain supplements I love to have on board, certain supplements, meds. Have those, and even have some extra ones also. We do have shelter. Make sure that you have shelter and a shelter backup as well if something were to happen in your area. If there were some power things, I know we got a really small generator. It doesn't power up much, so we may need to look into that ourselves as a family. But do you have something for backup power or energy if something like that were to happen? And you may be asking, what does this have to do with sleep? It's hard to get to sleep when you're so worried about your environment and how you're going to survive in your survival. So make sure that your survival is addressed and taken care of. Hi, I see more people hopping on the live. Hi, good morning. Good morning. I know it's an early live this morning. So thank you for joining me. Thank you so much. And so we're going to go over some more things, really how to get that sleep. We may be called, like I said, a lot of us store food, extra food, water, things at home, which is good. But we may need to have what they used to call in the old days in the prepper community, they still call it a bug out bag. And this is a ready near you bag where you have, some backup, some backup money in there, some backup documents, backup clothing, some water, some food, something if you need to leave your home imminently because of anything that's occurring. We know so much is going on in our world right now. You need to have that ready. and have it ready. This is important to have that ready because having that ready will actually help you to get to sleep. A lot of people have what they call stress induced insomnia. Okay? Stress induced insomnia. And right now, we're at a very, very high stress level. Even if the war isn't happening on your land right now, if it's just news of the war, and I want to talk about that too. We woke up to news of war this morning. We woke up to it last week. It's just been so much going on. I always encourage people to limit their news intake. You don't want to focus on that doom scrolling, because a lot of us, we're not even watching the TV now. I think some of our parents, grandparents, some people who still have those, they're watching television, but we really aren't. We are scrolling and scrolling on our phones. And a lot of that right now is doom scrolling. I think there was a time that we could actually control what was showing up on our feeds. I've noticed since, I want to say in the last 6 months, that things that I never subscribed to are showing up, like in my Facebook feed, my Instagram feed. In fact, that's how I found out that we're waking up to war. I know for a fact I don't subscribe to a lot of these channels, but they are being forced fed to us right now. They're being pushed down our throats, force fed to us. So you want to have, I like to encourage people, have a dedicated time where you're going to check the news daily. You don't want to be slamming yourself with all of this bad news constantly all day long. Have that dedicated time where you're looking for it so that you can get the bullet points. We can't put our head in the sand. I always tell people that we can't just ignore everything and put our head in the sand. A part of me right now would like to do that. I'll be very honest with you. A part of me would love to do that. And that brings us to the next point, is really having a higher power that we can turn to. And I know I have so many people with so many different religions who watch our channel, so that's going to differ from person to person. But a higher power that you turn to, whether you turn to the mantra, prayer, thought, journaling, consciousness, whatever that means to you, being able to lay your thoughts, your worries, your anxiety, your inability to get a good night's sleep during this time, being able to lay that on a higher power takes a lot of that weight off of yourself. That's super, super important, especially as we are going through these times right now. Knowing that there's something above us, and that is looking out for us and is going to help and assist. I really turn to spirituality. I think a lot of people during this time turn to more and more spirituality during these times. And it's unfortunate because we really should be doing that all the time. I'm guilty of not doing that all the time. Sometimes we need to really focus on having a steady flow of that. So it makes me think of the saying where people say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay prayed up so you're not frantically praying at the last minute. Super, super, super important during this time. Some other really great tips, and these are tips I've gone over before in terms of sleep hygiene. So important, especially now. I think we're being robbed of good mental health. We're being attacked. Not only our other countries, communities, citizens being attacked. When we hear of war going on, I think as a conscious collective, we feel that throughout our entire brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity. And it affects us on a very, very deep level. So taking our healing and our regeneration super, super serious during this time is really, really, really important. So once again, sleep hygiene is not just, I think when people hear the word sleep, and they hear the word hygiene. I probably should do a whole video on this alone. They think, okay, I know what sleep is, and hygiene is keeping clean. And so that's not quite the meaning of it. Sleep hygiene is just simply simple biological rules to help humans get the maximum amount of sleep for the maximum amount of regeneration for the next day, to really wake up refreshed, revived, and ready to take over their world. So that's super, super important. So right now we want to look at what time we're getting to bed. There's going to be news stories all throughout the day of all of the things that are going on. We want to have a set time for ourselves of what time we're getting to bed, preferably no later than 10 or 10:30 at night that you're falling asleep. Our body does a lot of regeneration around 10 p.m. to about 2 a.m., where our melatonin levels are the highest. And we know melatonin is not just a sleep hormone, it's also a very healing hormone. They have found that people with lower levels of melatonin actually have higher levels of chronic disease. So our bodies are secreting it, and we have to make the environment good for that as well. So dropping the temperature so that we're having a good temperature to get to sleep in, and actually able to fall asleep. Our body temperature needs to go down. We cannot fall asleep when it's up. So that's why my business is always booming in the summertime. We get so many orders, requests, and calls for help, tons of emails. Summertime, people forget that they really need to do those adjustments. They need to lighten up on, the pajama wear, have lighter sheets so they're not suffocating and hot, have a fan going on. And even in the winter time, we drop our home temperature here in our home down to in the sometimes the upper 60s in order to get to bed at night. So like 68 or 67, because your body needs that right now in order to get to sleep. Okay. We also want to look at how dark is our room. Are you in a big city where you're getting all of this light coming in? It is hard to rest well when we cannot get complete darkness. So getting blackout curtains, blackout shades are a good investment. And I know they're pricier. We just purchased new blackout shades for our bedroom here, just for the adults. We have teenagers. We actually have lighter shades for them because they seem to sleep through anything all the time. But adults, we definitely have like the dark blackout shades, which is really nice. Really good. We also talk about, looking into different relaxation techniques. One of my favorites is using the mineral magnesium. So using it as a spray, actually using it as a spray on the bottom of your feet, in between your toes. It's a highly absorbent area of your body that absorbs substances very quickly. So it absorbs, so be careful walking barefoot, totally outside unless the area, because that part of our body is highly absorbent. So spraying a little magnesium spray on the bottom, a little lavender spray on the bottom. We have an organic lavender spray here at Sleepwell RX. You can definitely go to our channel, sleepwellrx.com, our website, and we can definitely get some of that over to you to help you get a great night's sleep. Other magnesiums I like to use for part of my relaxation routine is Epsom salts. Epsom salts are actually made from magnesium. When you look on the bag, you'll see that's the major ingredient in there. And you can get this anywhere. I've even seen like gas stations have this. All the drugstores, all the grocery stores. If you want to be fancy, you can go for the Epsom, that particular magnesium flakes. I like those too. I seem to get a little bit better rest with the flakes, but the flakes can be just sometimes just way too pricey, and sometimes they're just difficult to find. But the Epsom salts are everywhere and so easy for you to find. So definitely, this is the time you want to be incorporating affordable, easy to find, easy to use tools. Using a cup of that and a foot soak, even just doing a hand soak. I experimented doing like a hand soak in the sink. felt amazing. Putting it in your bath at nighttime, also amazing. If you don't have, once again, you don't want a foot soak, you don't have time for that, spraying the bottom of your feet will help, definitely for relaxation. There's also progressive muscle relaxation exercises to do where you begin tensing yourself from the head down and then you release each one. It's really an amazing feeling. I see new people popping on. Hi. Um, I see new people popping on for the live. I think I said hi to everyone. See if there's any other questions. Okay, I don't think I see any other questions popping on. Okay. Be sure to put your questions down here so we can answer anything you may have about sleep. And if you're watching this from the future, put your questions down in the comments so we could definitely reach out and touch base as well. So our topic today was how to sleep when the world is at war. We definitely woke up to, news of the war today. Tons of, news is going to be going on all day, 24/7, bombarding us, really attacking us, creating war on the individual citizen, on our mental health and our nervous system. So that's something I really wanted to talk about today, how we can protect ourselves. We talked about controlling what we can control, making sure that we have, our sufficient survival items, things, and the people that we depend on as well, all in place. We looked at controlling your environment. We talked about that, making sure your environment is prepared for sleep. I'm always on every video talking about doom scrolling. I used to, I think just haphazardly just scroll because I had curated my feed so I wasn't getting a lot of news. Anyone who I thought was like super negative, I would give them like a 30-day hiatus because you could do that on Facebook. Just let me give them a 30-day timeout and let me just enjoy myself here. I'm finding now that we're bombarded with this stuff and we can't just turn it off like we can. So we just have to turn off our devices in general. Uploading, great audio books that we can listen to, getting a real book to actually read, soothing for the mind and soul. Definitely curating your evening input is so important. I know people who like to fall asleep to the news. They go, eat their evening dinner according to the news. This is a time where we should be actually releasing the woes of the day and not taking more in. You should have a bedtime routine. And I'm gonna go a step further. It shouldn't just be bedtime routine. It should be an entire evening routine, okay? And an evening routine is gonna mean you're gonna be turning down lights, okay? Using minimum, almost no fluorescent lighting. In fact, they're making it illegal in a lot of states now to even sell fluorescent lighting. They're finding out now how it creates poor morale. It's bad on your eyes. It's bad for mental health. So look at the lighting you're using. I believe there's a website, lightbulbs.com or 1000bulbs.com, that sells kind of the old-fashioned lights that we used to use a long time ago, the incandescent lighting. It's healthier and safer. Okay, so definitely toning down the light, toning that down really alerts the body that it's going to be, really time to start making that melatonin soon. The melatonin is really made in response largely in terms, especially the melatonin in our brain, and it's largely in terms of response to our exterior exogenous lighting that's occurring. So definitely you want to watch that. Watch the intake you're taking in. We're talking about there's great ways, there's great channels, even here on YouTube. It may be worthwhile where you're going to be getting using YouTube Premium, where you're not going to get bombarded with all of these commercials and news and all of the stuff. You can really in a much better fashion kind of curate what's being fed to you here. You also want to, part of your evening, nighttime routine is our food. Okay, so what we eat is so important during this time. I think we are craving, especially, comfort foods. And we can eat healthy comfort foods. I'm always encouraging people as much as possible to leave the pesticides out by trying their best to eat organic. I know that's something we do a lot in our family. It is not always easy, and sometimes the cost, it just doesn't justify it. Some of the good ways, and I'm actually starting to hear birds chirping outside right now, which I'm so happy to hear. I was telling a coworker earlier this week, I said, I hear birds outside right now. I am thrilled because spring is on the way and we're going to start to see farmers markets more. That is one of your best bets because I know, right now we're all watching, economically how we can be as healthy as possible, as economically as possible. Farmers markets are one of the best ways. You can get organic, delicious meats and produce from these particular markets. Also, I have found that you can actually develop connections, relationships with some of the farmers who will actually, a lot of them have people come out to the farm. You can buy directly from the farms themselves. Even the ones that aren't certified organic, they'll let you visit some of their practices and you see that they're actually running an organic practice. It's just so much money to get that certification seal that they just haven't gone through all of that process yet. But you're still getting good quality, healthy food during this time. A cutoff time for eating is important. You need about a 3-hour cutoff time so that you can get good rest and your body isn't busy digesting the food. Okay? So that's super, super important. So if you go to bed at 10, your last big meal shouldn't be any later than 7 p.m. That should be the cutoff time. Now, some people, let's see. Okay. What about nighttime snacks? Okay, that's a good question. So nighttime snacks can be okay if they're a small amount and they're not going to interfere with your sleep. So usually I tell people, the size of your hand. If your hand is kind of small, the size of your palm, you're gonna have a small nighttime snack. If you have a bigger hand, you'll be able to stomach a little bit more, literally. But you don't want to have a big meal right before bed. Alcohol is literally toxic to our entire system from head to toe. But I do have clients who, they love a bottle, not a whole bottle, I hope, but they love to have a glass of wine with, their dinner. That's fine again, because that's going to give them time to actually break down that alcohol hours before going to sleep. Although alcohol is a natural sedative, most likely, and especially with the wines, it can be a natural sedative because a lot of the wines are made with grapes, and grapes have natural melatonin in them. Alcohol itself can disrupt the sleep the entire night, where you're not going in and out of the phases of sleep properly. So the advice is, for good health in general, head to toe, we should be minimizing the amount of alcohol we drink in general. I have hardcore clients that say, I always have a glass of wine with my dinner. That's fine. Just make sure you're not having it close to bed. So trying to see if there's any other questions. That was a good question. So we're talking about, once again, how to sleep when the world is at war. Taking care of the things you can take care of, having a relaxation process in place for you. Just hopping in the bed after being, kind of hyper vigilant, anxious is very, very difficult to get to sleep. You need a full bedtime routine. And it doesn't have to be some elaborate, like 2-3 hour routine. It can literally be a routine where you say prayers, you spray on a little magnesium spray on the bottom of your feet for absorption. You do a little stretching and you go to sleep. So it could be a 5-minute routine, but it needs to be something where you alert body, mind, and soul that it is time to calm down and go to sleep. So we're just looking at some of those different things. There are different, other materials to use. For Christmas, we ordered a throw rug for our couch, and we made sure that it was a weighted blanket. Okay. The deep pressure of weighted blankets actually helps to calm the nervous system. We need so much calming right now because there's so much anxiety and so much energy, chaotic energy going on in the world right now. Every tool that we could get a hold of is so important for us to really maximally use those particular tools. So again, that deep pressure stimulation is very calming. They make organic throw. We have an organic throw. They make whole organic blankets for the whole bed. They even make really small ones if you just need something for your lap while working. I've showcased on my channel here before. They make some really nice organic, not organic, weighted eye masks. You get that extra nice pressure that's just calming and very comforting to our nervous system. Okay. Some of the other things we wanted to talk about is our brains are racing right now. Just really kind of racing right now. Again, we are being attacked. It's a war on us, and we need to really stay vigilant and do what we can to relax, rest, revigorate at this time. One of the things I've encouraged too on this channel is doing a brain dump before bed. Okay, and so brain dump is going to look different for different people. If you're a really prolific writer and you just got so much going on, dump it all into a journal on paper. You don't even have to reread this ever again. This can just be something for you, something that you're doing for yourself to get this off of your brain. If your brain is just racing so fast that you can't get to sleep at night. I find a form of a brain dump that I like to do. I like to just kind of plan my day for the next day. I sleep better knowing that, okay, and I know life doesn't always go according to plan. We all know that now. I think if that was one thing, 2020 taught us, and now we're seeing 2026 has been, I mean, we're just in the second month, and it has been a whirlwind of a year already. So definitely, this is more time than ever to prioritize. We see that, I really think that the powers that be are prioritizing us, right? Are prioritizing our mental health, our emotional capacity, our physical health. The American Medical Association recently, acknowledges that one of the top causes of chronic diseases is stress and anxiety. And we are experiencing it at record levels right now. So I'm definitely here to help share some information to hopefully go over really some things that we can be doing that are easy to do, quick to do, affordable to do during this time right now. So we just talked about doing a brain dump, dumping all that stuff that's in your mind onto paper before going to bed. This can be even a part of your bedtime routine to help calm yourself down to go to sleep at night. Doing breath work. Breath work is so important. I've had a mentor years ago telling me that when we take deep breaths, we're living a deeper life. However, when we're taking, constantly shallow breaths, we're living a more shallow, unfulfilled life. And so that's something I definitely have to remind myself of. All of these tips today are not just for you all, these are for me, my family, and friends as well. Sharing this is something I think we're all, and I hated the saying when they introduced it to us, we're all in this together. But we all are going through where we are being bombarded together and dealing with this together. And I think together we can cope and actually prevail and do well. Okay. So doing the deep breathing is going to, deliver more oxygenation to our cells, to our brain, to our entire body. Okay. And I've gone over like the 3-7-8 routine, the 4-4-4 box breathing, where you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, then you exhale and hold again. And sometimes just taking a deep breath like that. I can remember just being young. a little girl, and I would get just overly excited and start hyperventilating about something. And my dad saying to me, Robin, you need to calm yourself down and take a deep breath. And sometimes, we get in these mad, frenzies, and we just want to be mad. It's like, and I really kind of fought it. I was like, no, I just want to be mad. It's like, no, I want you to take a deep breath. Back then, he didn't know about, the fancy term of breath work. And he did do some yoga and meditation at that time. And so brought some of that home to us. So that was really, really helpful. And to this day, if I could find myself flustered, I know to do what my dad taught me, get those deep breaths in. That is so, so important. So I talked over some, really good sleep hygiene things we're doing. Just a recap. We're going to make sure we have to lower our temperature. If you find yourself tossing and turning at night, you probably have not lowered your thermometer before bed, okay? Go ahead and lower that temperature. You have to have a lowered basal body temperature in order to actually enter into the onset of sleep, okay? Some other things that we looked at is looking at, making sure your room is completely dark. So your environment's so important. Are you getting a lot of noise? Some people actually need some noise. So YouTube is a great place to find some really, really good sleep meditation videos. We're going to be working on some here. I've come out of hibernation. I did some definitely a lot of resting for the month of February, but we're getting, geared back up to really, really offer some great meditation videos. Spotify has some amazing ones. And you can actually put on your blue blocker glasses, put those on first, and choose your video for the night, especially if you have, YouTube Premium, where you're not going to get interrupted with weird commercials during your sleep. A great, great way to really help set the bedtime routine. We talked about, having that cutoff time for alcohol in your food. A small snack, a small melatonin-rich snack is always a good idea. A few cherries, a few blueberries, a great, great idea before bed. Looking to doing really having a actual routine. And it starts in the evening. We talked about your lighting, no super bright lights. In the evening in our home, we start turning on lamps. The overhead lights go off and just the floor lamps and table lamps come on. Getting full spectrum light bulbs, or either the incandescent light bulbs, are a great, great idea, getting rid of those fluorescents. I wanted to look in and talk about, some kind of off the wall things, especially right now, is how to sleep when our world is at war. So, hyper-vigilance about war can really keep us awake. And that's basically what we call the stress-induced insomnia. And you want to basically combat that by controlling what you can control. We can't control these decisions being made, way, way, way above us, out of this world, some of them. We can't control that, but we can't control that, we have checked on friends and family, that we have an adequate supply if we're required to, stay in place some type of way. We have an adequate supply ourselves of, our food, water, any, supplements, medications, drugs that we need. We have that. So making sure and knowing that you're prepared, looking at doing some type of bug out bag, so that if you can't shelter in place and you need to go somewhere quickly, you have some things packed, ready to go, okay? What does this have to do with sleep? Again, you will sleep better knowing, okay, I have prepared to the best of my ability. Great. We talked about turning to a higher power. So, so important during this time to know that we do have ultimate higher powers in control that we can put our issues, our burdens onto. Very, very important during this time. If you can't do a hardcore 8-hour sleep, there's something called micro napping. And this is something where you will find yourself, you may get sleepy. And if you get up early in the morning, like, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you may find yourself needing that nap around 12, 1 o'clock. So instead of doing lunch, take a rest during that time and have a working lunch. So you're still well nourished, you're still eating for lunch, but during micro nap time. So a full sleep cycle is about 90 minutes. So if you could set aside a nice 90 minutes so you can catch that, and having a window, if you nap too late in the day, it can be difficult to get to sleep at night. But if you need to do some multiple micro napping as you're dealing with stress, anxiety, mental anguish, that's okay during this time, okay? You may want to layer sounds. Sometimes silence is just, it can be difficult to get to sleep if things are just too silent. So experiment with some different noises. Some of the best noises that they've done research on have been some of the nature sounds. Hearing water sounds, a babbling brook, a gentle rain can also be really, really advantageous during this time. Again, you can find a lot of those sounds right here on YouTube on the channel. Um, definitely, there's another sound called brown noise, which is a deeper sound, and it can mimic, like a distant thunder wave, or just something distant, that's gentle and soothing to your nervous system. Okay, so don't feel bad if you need that, if you can't sleep in perfect silence. If you need more silence, you need to get some earplugs, because you're one of those people. Treat yourself. They're very affordable. You can get them again at your local drugstore, because you need that silence during that time. If you need to sleep in more of like shift rotations, okay, that's okay too. Getting the sleep and the body, which is so amazing to me, the human body is just so highly adaptable. Okay, we are very resilient, we're strong, but in saying that, we still need rest. Rest is a necessity to regenerate and to heal and to feel our best. But in doing that, if we need to do more, sleeping in various shifts, it would be more helpful. That's something also that can definitely be super helpful. Trying to think, is there anything I missed that I'm covering today? Definitely, we talked about, if you do have to use any electronics before bed, putting on your blue blocker glasses. I find, I don't know if you all have experienced this. Let me know in the chat right now or in the comments. When I put those blue blockers on, it's like they make me sleepy. I start getting like, if I need to go check some emails, do some last minute scrolling, looking at something, I am starting to like literally fall asleep once those blue blockers get on. It doesn't take long. I want to say about 5 minutes of those on. So those are super helpful. Now, not all blue blockers are created equally. So some of them are just really not that effective. So ultimately, you want to be decreasing the blue light around you in general. I know people, they start putting blue blockers on, I don't know, about 5 or 6 in the evening. They make me kind of sleepy, so I wouldn't put them on that early, but experiment with that to see how you're doing. Um, I'm trying to think anything else. I'm going to see if there's any other questions, anything else you all have. I think that's it. So be sure again to visit Sleepwell RX if you're looking for some great sleep tools, sleepwellrx.com, where we have our amazing sprays to help you get a great night's sleep. Definitely rewatch from the beginning, where we went over all of some of the really good sleep hygiene things. 100 years ago, people didn't have as much issue sleeping, simply because we weren't bombarded like we are now. We're bombarded with so much right now. So definitely take this time to really unbombard yourself. Have a set time to get your daily bullets of news. Don't watch news all day long. Get out, get a life, make sure you're in contact, even with texting with friends, family, that you have food, you have shelter. If we're required to shelter in place, that may be a thing. Who knows? We just don't know right now. We do know that we can put our worries onto a higher power and that we're just getting up every day doing the best we can with what we have. So, trying to see if there are any other questions. If not, I want to thank you all for joining me. I usually come on either a Saturday night or Sunday night. So, this is a Sunday morning. So, I'll see how this goes. I like getting this started first thing Saturday morning. So, we'll see. Um, I may do another one tomorrow morning. So we'll see how that goes. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.